Now let's talk a bit more bills and laws. There's a search for Ghana's oldest bill right now, a coalition of civil society groups who've been campaigning to get the right to information bill passed. It is currently before cabinet, we're told, and will only be passed once government presents it to the House. So far, civil society groups believe that no government has showed any serious commitment to its passage. During the State of the Nation address last month, President Akufo-Addo promised it will be passed into law before the end of the current meeting of Parliament. Well, yesterday, First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Joe told JoyNews that MPs are only waiting on the executive to present the bill for passage.
Parliament has always been committed to. We work through procedures. In 2000, and after the close of 2016, we had practically finished. But you know, we work with time. Once the time elapsed, we had to come and start afresh. So as soon as this is brought back, I'm sure we'll have no difficulty because a lot of the work had been done. The original bill was just like the right was for government, and he's giving you a small thing. So we rewrote the bill to make it show clearly that the right belonged to Ghanaians and that there are restrictions only for safety and so on. So that is why we took so long. But I tell you, as soon as it comes back, we'll work with speed to ensure that it is passed.
First Deputy Speaker Joe was there. So whilst all of the talk is going on, there's a countdown to the deadline set by the Right Information Coalition. I have here in the studio Mina Mensah. She's head of the Africa Office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. She's also a member of the Right Information Coalition. Ms. Mensah, you're welcome to the studio.
Thank you very much, and good evening to your viewers and listeners.
Very well. Once Mr. Osewusu has spoken, let me find out from you if he seems to be giving a reason for the delay of the bill, which sort of makes sense. Does it suffice for you?
He gave a reason. Does it suffice for me? I don't think so. Because even in his reason, he himself said that a lot of work has gone onto it. So we were told last May that it's been sent to cabinet. It's been in May since last year, 2017.
You mean it's been in cabinet?
Yes.
Or it's been in parliament?
No, it's been in cabinet since May. And Parliament cannot do much if it's in cabinet. Now, we are not getting any information. All we are told is that it's in cabinet. So, as we speak, there is no information on the Right to Information Bill. What is it doing in cabinet? Are they working on it? Is there a problem? At least communicate. But from where I'm sitting, I do not think there is really any excuse, seriously.
He's saying that they had to rewrite the bill to ensure that Ghanaians could own it, to make sure that Ghanaians owned it. Isn't that a necessary thing? Because you can quickly pass a law, but what if it doesn't make it easier for Ghanaians to benefit from it? So perhaps that's the explanation that he's giving.
I don't think he's talking about having to rewrite it now, because in 2013, 14, 15 and 16, I was part of the group that worked on it. Honorable Joe Osewusu was part of that group. Honorable Alban Bagbin was part of that group. It was a lot of members, the members of the Committee on Constitutional, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs. We practically reworked. In fact, the committee worked on it, sat with civil society organizations. We engaged not once, not twice, severally. And we all agreed that we had a good law. And so so
there's no point in rewriting?
No. I'm thinking that he's referring to what was done earlier on and not what is happening now. I do not believe he was referring to now. I don't think so. Because I don't see what is there to rewrite.
What are the sorts of suspicions that the coalition is harboring at the moment as being the reason why we're not getting the information? You've just said that we're not getting information on the Right to Information Bill.
I don't want to hazard a guess. Okay. But you see, if you've been in this thing as long as I have been in it, you get cynical. And from where I'm sitting, I just think it's the political will. I do not think that politicians really, really want to pass this bill into law. That's how I feel. Because at the end of the day, we've been through this conversation over and over and over again. We went through it during the Kufuor administration. At least they worked. They did not give a lot of promises, but it was not even sent to Parliament. During the NDC time, we went through promises upon promises upon promises. A lot of work was done on it. We come to Akufo-Addo administration. Last year, February, the AG's office sent the bill to the Coalition on the Right to Information Ghana. We worked on it, sent it back to the AG, and we were told it's been sent to Cabinet in May. In fact, we wrote to the AG wanting to know if we could have a meeting with her and at least help discuss some of the issues that they might have. The information was that it's been sent to Cabinet and that we would get feedback, or when they needed us, they would call us. If you recall, the Minister of Information on several occasions made promises and actually gave deadlines.
But nothing happened. So I bet that it won't be, for you, you won't be as enthused when even the president now is still giving deadlines, because now we're looking at a deadline that's ending next week. Parliament is rising next week for the Easter holidays, apparently, and there's still nothing. Well, whilst we're at it and whilst we're still doing the countdown, even though for me the countdown is over, can we talk Ghanaians through what exactly this bill will do for us, so that we'll be able to get a buy-in, or maybe we already have the buy-in, but we can get it on a larger scale. What is it that this bill will do? For which reason perhaps the politicians are so scared?
Thank you. You see, information is power. Bottom line, that's what explains the bill.
Everything.
Information is power. If you have information, you can do a lot of things. For example, if you have information in the form that you would understand of what government is doing, even in terms of the policies that government is putting in place, it will change your outlook on things and it will change your lifestyle. The tomato seller in the market, who tolls are collected from internally generated funds from the assemblies, do they know exactly how much money those internal generated funds are? Do they know what exactly those tolls are used for? No, they don't. There are a lot of projects around that are uncompleted. Do we know how much was spent on some of those projects? And do we know how much it will cost us to complete it? And do we know the reasons why they were left standing like that? We don't know. Go to any agency and request for information about those things, and they will not give you the information, although it is a constitutional right. But because there's no legal framework to ensure that if you don't get the information, you can go through a process. Because as it is now, if you go to an agency and you want information and you don't get it, what you need to do is to go to the High Court.
Right.
If you aren't a lawyer, you cannot go to the High Court by yourself. You won't even understand the system.
And it makes the process a bit more complex, complicated, a bit sometimes
and very expensive. Not sometimes, and very expensive
for you as well.
Yes. So for us, the Right to Information Bill is the people's bill. It's the bill that gives power to the ordinary Ghanaian for you to be able to walk into any public office and ask questions.
Demand information.
Yes,
right.
That will help you.
And I'm hoping that our viewers really get to grasp this, so they can be a part of the push for this law to be passed. But let's go to Parliament. And I'm sorry, I'm really being biased on this. That's because I'm a journalist, and I believe that the information will help all of us as well. But let's go to Parliament and find out what happened there today, since we know they'll be rising next week. My colleague, Kwesi Parker Wilson, is standing by. Hello, Parker. If you can hear me, can you bring us up to speed on what happened in Parliament today, whether or not, and this is in relation specifically to the Right to Information Bill. Did they talk about it? What did they say? Hello, Parker. Okay, it appears that we're having a difficulty reaching Parker. Let's check the line and reach Parker back on the line. But Mina, since you're here, now that you've made Ghanaians understand, and I'm sure that some of us did understand, but now that you've given us further information, what are the options available? And this is a question that I must admit I've asked a couple of times. What are the options available where we find ourselves now?
Well, there are several options available. For one thing, people vote people in power. You do have MPs. Everybody has an MP. Every MP comes from a political party.
Right.
Some of those MPs are members of cabinet.
True.
They ought to be able to tell their constituents what is happening to the bill. They ought to be able to tell constituents why they are not willing to cede some of the power that has been given to them by us, the citizenry, back onto the citizenry. They need to be telling people why the bill is 17 years. Next year, the bill will be old enough to vote if it was a human being.
We probably should throw a party. Throw a party for the bill.
No, the bill is a teenager now. It is a teenager now. So they should be able to tell their constituents exactly why it is so difficult for them to pass the Right to Information Bill. Because you see, the bill was reviewed to the African Union standards. The African Union has a model law on how an access to information law must look like. Ghana is part of the AU. So the law has been reviewed to that standard.
Okay.
So what is the difficulty? All the countries around us have passed. What exactly is the difficulty?
And
maybe if they tell us the difficulty, then we can engage.
Okay.
But nobody's telling us that. Initially it was because the bill, the clauses in it are, it takes power from Ghanaians. Then it was because they couldn't agree on one thing or the other. All kinds of reasons.
Okay. Now, just to make it clear, when you talk about Ghanaians seeking information or demanding from their representatives in parliament so that things will be done, I want you to make it a bit clear so we can wrap up this conversation. What can Ghanaians do? I mean, there's the coalition, you're doing your bit of it. Some of us in the media are also talking about it. But what can we do? Seeing that from every logical reasoning perspective, it appears that the political will, as you say, is lacking. What can we do as a people?
That's why I said there are several. I mentioned one.
Right, okay.
Engage your politician. But I think Ghanaians should rise up and demand what is theirs.
Any examples how they can demand
They could
this?
mobilize and then walk to cabinet.
Okay.
Yeah. We could just mobilize en masse, walk to cabinet, and ask them to tell us exactly what is happening.
Okay.
Or an easier way is engage your MP. That is much easier than the whole of Ghana rising to. But there should be action on the part of all of us who call ourselves Ghanaians. Because you see, that bill would help us. We are talking about Ghana beyond aid. And unless you have information and the right kind of information,
you're powerless.
You are powerless. Right. You only consume what you are taught, what you are told.
What's fed you.
Yeah, what's fed you. You don't have the power to even ask questions on what you really need to know.
Right, right. I'm wrapping up this conversation, but I have Parker on the line quickly. Parker, was the Right to Information Bill raised in Parliament? I mean, did anybody mention it at all today? What did they say about it?
No, they didn't, Jyoti, you can hear me. And it was quite disappointing for some of the members of the minority. If you remember, the president on Independence Day clearly stated that he was going to ensure that we present the RTI to Parliament before they rise. And Parliament is rising, that is next week, Friday, 29th of March of this year. And so one was expecting that since the president promised, and in times past, that he has been very consistent in this subject, he would present the bill to Parliament. Unfortunately, he didn't. I spoke to a member of Parliament, that is a Roxton Daxiamako, and he clearly stated that it's an indication of the president's inability to redeem his promises. And even in times past, he mentioned one dish, one factory, 1 million, one constituency. All hasn't been fulfilled. So for him, though it is disappointing, it is not really surprising to him that next week, the business statement of the House, they are not going to talk about the right to information bill.
And Parker, the business statement of the House for next week is already out. So you know what they're going to talk about next week before they rise. And on that list, you can't find the RTI bill.
Exactly. I have with me the business statement for the House next week. And members of Parliament are raising concerns about their roads in their constituencies, some education block in their constituencies. Others would want to know how far the one dish, one factory project. No one is talking about the RTI. Right. No one. From Tuesday to Friday, none of the MPs are raising concerns about the RTI. So we don't know what's going to happen next week.
Okay. Parker, thank you very much for that update. Kwesi Parker Wilson is my colleague in Parliament there, bringing us up to speed on what happened. Let me take your very quick remarks on that to wrap up this conversation.
You see, that speaks to what I've been talking about. It is just that politicians are not interested. There is no political will. And it gets back to why you're asking me whether I was enthused about the president's statement. It is rhetoric. Unless I see action, I think that I'm not going to believe anything. I have heard it so many times. Because if there was any seriousness to it, then at least for next week, because they are rising next week,
there should be something.
Right. Or some MP should have said something about it. But you see, nobody, they're interested in the roads that they are using our monies to construct, that we don't even know how much those monies are. We don't know what we are committing ourselves to. And this is what will give us the power to keep them accountable. Okay. So from where I'm sitting, maybe it's just that they don't think that we deserve accountability. They ought to account for us for their stewardship. It's okay for us to vote for them, but it is not okay for us to demand what will give us the power to make them accountable.
Right. So why do you want to be on the receiving end, or to be able to ask questions and probe and find out what's happening? Well, that's what the call is all about. I'm sure that on social media there's been a hashtag, well, a number of hashtags actually that's been, that's trending. You want to be a part of it. I think the hashtag, one of the ones that I push is pass the RTI bill, or pass RTI bill now. I don't know if you're aware of this and if the coalition is also pushing any of these hashtags.
It's on our website. All those hashtags.
All those hashtags
yes.
are there.
All
right. So, well, if you can't, we can't walk to Parliament. We can't walk to the Flagstaff House, to Cabinet to find out anything. At least we can talk on social media. So let's get the hashtag going.
That's one great idea. I think that the social media also works a lot. It didn't even occur to me, but because maybe I'm not a social media.
Social media is very powerful.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
Let's employ it to get our voices heard. Mina, thank you so much for
coming.
Thank
you so much for having me.
Do you have a very good weekend? Mina Mensah is the head of Africa Office of the Commonwealth Human Rights Initiative. She's a member of the Right to Information Coalition, and actually her office is where the coalition, this coalition secretariat is. Let's keep the hashtag going. Pass RTI bill now. That's the hashtag. Let's make our voices heard on social media.